think about this square, look at that square, and look at the surrounding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These squares surround that. All this will be grass if there was a tent here. Old Nintendo Gamer.
And son.
Hello and welcome back to Tents and Trees with me, Old Nintendo Gamer. They got an ampersand there, but in the actual title of the game there's no ampersand, it's A-N-D. Anyway, just dropping into, as you can see for the classic packs, just to show my progress so far. We got all the way through these unlocked hard and missing numbers, and we're up to 11 by 11 puzzles, but that's not what we're here for today. We are going to have a look at some of the daily packs to see what those offer. And we can see that March the 7th, which it is today, we've got easy levels from 6 to 6 by 9 to 9, and then harder levels 11 by 11 to 18 by 18. And you can see at the bottom as well here that there are 6 different puzzles in each pack. And then there's missing numbers as well from 10 to 10 to 17 to 17. And then it's also got the previous day's puzzles. So it rotates, it adds a new 3. So easy, hard, and missing numbers. Every day it drops a new 3 packs. Let's try March the 7th's easy ones and see how we're doing here. Let's see if I've made progress in my tents and treeage. Definitely one. Oh yes, you can press A on a tree as well to link it to a tent to clarify exactly where that tent belongs to. That one's got 0, so that one's got to be there. That one's got to be there. There you go. That was a bit slow, but 31 seconds. I think it's an achievement for finishing an easy daily pack in under 3 minutes. The whole shaboodle. Right now we're looking at a far trickier puzzle because of the nature of this 3 here. 1, 2, 3. That can only be that one. That one can be that one. That one can be that one. There cannot be one there. This can only have a tent coming up and out. Therefore, that can only have a tent there. That can only have a tent there. That gotta have a tent there. That's done. This one could be a tent. This one's only got 1, that one's got 2. This one's got 2 here, and this one's got to be 1 there, and there's got to be 1 there. Excuse my mutterings. Much slower. That was a 6 by 6 as well. Onto a... What's this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 8 by 8 already. Things are considerably slower when the puzzle gets larger. Yes, you're wondering why I did that. That was a slip of the D-pad. I find it easier to use the D-pad. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 tents in this column. There's 1 either here or here, but there's definitely 1 here. Where they go, nobody knows. 2 tents in that one, 1 in that one, 2 in that one, 1 in that one, 3 in this one, 1, 2, 3. So there's only... this tent could be associated with either tree there, so I can't do anything much there, but I can block these. Therefore, that can only have 1 there. That tent is associated with that tree, so that tent must be there. This has just been finished. Every tree has a tent associated with it. This tree, for example, can't have a tent here because then this tree can't have a tent because it wouldn't fit. Marvelous. Zip down the 0 lines. And fill in some of the impossible squares. Squares with grass. Squares that cannot possibly imagine to have a tent. 1, 2, 3. So this column, for example, has got 3 in it. 1 will go here. and another 2 will go here. This one could be there or there, but it's definitely there because this row has got 3 in it. And this one has 3 as well. Right, and this has got 3. 1, 2, and it's either that one or that one for the 3. 1, 2, 3. That's got to be that's got to be blocked off as well. Oh, that is definitely blocked off. This has got 2. Lovely. So the 3 can only be that one. This has got 2, so that's definitely got to be 1. 3. 1, 2. There's 1 there or there. 1. That could be 1. That cannot be 1. Now this tree can only have a tent there, and this can only have a tent there, which means that's blocked off, and that's blip. We still got 2 more. That was 1:36. These larger puzzles. How can you be doing these in under 3 minutes for the entire pack? Is beyond me. As you can see, the music is changing. As I've been progressing and doing some of the levels, it's unlocked some new theme music in the background. Right, let's start solving it. 1, 2, 3, 4. In this row, there are 3 tents, but this is a little advanced technique. There's only 3 tents to be put into those 4 slots. Now there's 1 space between each of these 2 possible tent places, and there's 1 more tent space. 1 more space than there are tents to go in them. So where there are 3 tents to be put down, there are 4 spaces. There are 1 gap, so if I put 1, 2, 3 tents there, that would leave the 4th space with no tent. But then again, maybe there's not a tent where my highlighted square is now. Maybe the tent is there. But regardless of where the tent is, either there or there, have a look at what, because each tent has to have the surrounding 8 squares not having a tent. So there's an overlap of these 3 squares here where there could possibly not be a tent, regardless of whether there's a tent here or here. So these 3 squares are all, and the same for these 2, and the same for these 2. It's about overlapping. Now if there was an extra, like a 5th space, then that would be impossible to do because of the way that they overlap. There wouldn't enough tents to overlap. Techniques for whittling down extra spaces. This is a tricky one because if this tree, this is working out little problems of where to put your trees and tents. This tree, if I put a tent there, the tree directly above it can only put a tent here and here. So if there was a tent here, this tree could not have a tent because it'd be touching this highlighted square. Both this position and this position are directly touching this position in a diagonal. So this square cannot be this tree's tent. And just like this one, if this tree had a tent here, then this tree couldn't have a tent here. So this tree's got to have a tent here, which means this tree's got to have a tent here. And this tree can't have a tent in either of those squares because obviously the surrounding 8 squares of a tent, like I'm highlighting here, are non-tentage. So we got to do that. I hope that made sense. If it doesn't, sorry. Let me fly through. some more. I was going to point out this one as well. It has to go there, and this one. Now, this row rather, has got 1, 2, 3 possible positions for the tents. But this tree can only be associated with one tent. So one tent is going to go there or there. The other tent must go there. This tree must go there. Therefore, that tree must go there. It's still a struggle, though. As the puzzles... Oh, 2, 1, 2. Now, if I press A on this tree, it doesn't know which tent to link to. So you have to press A, and hold A, and then push in the direction of the tent that you want to link it to. That cannot be a tent there. There's only 2 in that one, so we're done. That one's done, therefore the tent goes there. That one can't be one. That one needs a tent, so that is linked there. This one needs a tent, and this one does too. Much slower, but I was tough. 5 minutes for that one. That was a beauty. Right, on to the last, which should be a 9x9. No zeros, so now we're getting on to some of the hardest 9x9s, and this is still in the realm of easy puzzles, so they state. Just checking visually, I think I've covered every grass segment. Now, we can pull this trick off that I showed earlier with the overlapping squares at the top, because there's 1, 2, 3, 4 blank squares with 3 tents to place in them. Now, this square, unfortunately, is far away from the other squares. It's got 3 grass verges between it and there, so there'll be no overlap of blank squares. But these three shall share either the 3 tents or a minimum of 2 tents, because if one was here, there are 2 tents to share between these 3 blank squares. Then, if there's a tent here, and no tent here, then think about this square, look at that square, and look at the surrounding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These squares surround that. All this will be grass if there was a tent here. But the tent could equally be here, and these would be grass. And if you've noticed something between here and here, is that this square, this very square here, is overlapping, and it's not a tent, it's a piece of grass. And the same will happen between these two. This would be an overlapping. So would the tree. The tree would be an overlapping square as well, but there is already a tree there. I reckon the same is true of this. 1, 2, 3, 4 blanks. And between these two, between these two, and between these two. Exactly the same at the top and the bottom. Right in now. Something more tricky. Like for this column here, for example, there are 4 squares and only 2, so you could have a tent here and you could have a tent here, and then the overlapping would never happen. What we need to do now is use some. There's definitely 1 there, and there's 2 here, but the 2... Oh, there's not 1 there. I left that square. So there's 1 here, there's 1 here, and there's definitely 1 there. We've got our first tent. Doesn't help me with anything else much. But this tree here, if I put a tent here, this tree to the left could not have a tent here, because this tent would be diagonally opposite this one and diagonally opposite this square. So this tree cannot have a tent there, but this tree could. Can this tree have a tent here? Yes, so this tree could have a tent here or here, and both are okay. No, they're not. It gets even more complicated. If this tree has a tent here, cannot be. If this tree has a tent here, then this tree must have a tent here. No, this tree can have a tent here. No, that's possible. It could have there or there. So that doesn't help me in the slightest. Just working out where. No, there's pretty much nothing about where this tree, that tree, and overlapping trees. Oh dear, this one's a tricky one. Right, let's have a look at each line. This column. 1, 2, nope, that could be anywhere. This tree cannot have a tent here. And the reason it can't have a tent there, for the diagonal there, and the diagonal there. And this tree cannot have a tent there because of equally the same problem. So that is definitely grass. Which opens up this column. Now one of these is a tent, and definitely this one is a tent. Now that's good because I've blocked that off. And I now know that this is a tent because there's 3 tents in this column. One is already done. One is here. The other one must be there. Marvelous. And the top column. You're wondering what I'm doing? I'm doing this column. There's 2 in here. This opens that up. Every tree must have a single tent attached to it. Once you've done a few of the squares, the rest does open up much better. Sometimes you can be, there we are, this row, same problem here. One of these is 2 tents in this row. One of them's got to be here, the other one's definitely got to be there. This tent cannot have a tree there. This tent cannot have a tree there because then this tree's got to be there and this tree can't be next to it, this tree. So there's a follow on from this that if there was a tent here, I'm going to show you if this is wrong. If there's a tent here, then this tree would have to have a tent there because it couldn't be down the bottom, and then this tree is going to know where to put a tent. So I reverse time, and this tree can't have a tent here because of the diagonals here. So this tree must and only must have a tent there. Marvelous. I finished that one off quite quick. Pack complete. That last one took me 6 minutes. Is that the entire pack? 6 minutes? No, it's not. Can't be. That took me 6 minutes for that single puzzle. Now, if I go to next now, go back. Yay! I've just finished the easy pack for March the 7th, 2024. I'll try and post this up as soon as I can. Do I dare kick into a hard? No! Those are the daily packs anyway. It gets harder. 11 by 11s to 18 by 18. And the positioning, you've got to use those slightly advanced techniques and more. Maybe I'll post a hard daily pack. And missing numbers, they get even trickier. I've never done a 17 by 17 as well, or an 18 by 18, so it might be worth doing one of those in a future video. Thanks for watching this easy daily pack with me, Old Nintendo Gamer of Tents and Trees. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can follow us on X, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads. We also have a private Discord server for some laid-back gaming chat, and if you're feeling generous, you can support us via Ko-fi. All the relevant links are in the description below.